give that a couple of seconds because I've learned when I review it, it cuts me off. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Frightreads Author Talks. So tonight's going to be interesting because we're not, well, I'm an author, so it counts. And that's the story, and I'm sticking to it. I'm an author, and it counts. So it's still an author talk. So tonight we are actually going to be talking to an artist. So, fun story. If you look up in this here corner, not the Ghostbuster logo, but up in the actual frames corner, you'll see this wonderful little bird. His name is Eduardo Frightington III, and he's our mascot. So that is the direct connection to who we're speaking to tonight. So this is someone that I have known for a very long time through various formats and means. We got together and collaborated on this wonderful little bird idea, who has now become our official mascot, as I mentioned. She is overly talented, and I have probably, outside of commercial made work that you see behind me, movie posters and such, out of anybody that's a hand-drawn, hands-on artist, probably have the most of her artwork on my walls. I have everything from the Hex Girls to the Monster Squad breakfast group, to some Ghostbuster stuff. I mean, you name it, I have it. Wednesday Addams. I have lots of the art. So this is super exciting because we're going to talk to an artist tonight. So let's go ahead and bring in Cailin Redtail, who drew our wonderful bird. Hey!
Hey!
So I learned my lesson in the past. I was like, let me give it a few seconds. I'm going to stall for time because I've watched the review of the video and I'm like, so anyway, I'm like, oh no, it's like 10 seconds. No. So I'm just like, and stalling for time, making it weird because it's probably going to actually work right this time. And then it's going to be me being weird. But welcome. We're going to have a great discussion tonight.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
People chime in. I'm going to make sure that it is blasted out onto the Facebook page so they know this is happening, because there is an event, but you know how that goes. You know, anything goes on Facebook. So, as I mentioned when I was introducing you, I have known you for quite some time.
It's been a minute, yeah. We're getting old.
So I met you and your not wife at the time.
No.
But I met the two of you, and I believe Keith, the gargantuan human being, dressed as Lobo.
Yeah, it was a big guy.
And I've known you guys. I've known the three of you out of, I think, my costume friends. Probably the longest, because I didn't have a con squad, so to speak. This was pre-Ghostbusters. This was pre me knowing like the usual like dorks that I hang out with doing Spider-Man stuff. I may have just barely known them, so I didn't know anybody. And then running into you guys, I was like, you guys look legit. You guys look awesome. And then you guys didn't look like anything compared to Lobo, who was like 7 foot tall, using a real meat hook. And security was like, carry on. That is above my pay grade. I'm not going to stop him. Let's be honest.
Nor was I.
So, yeah, it was fun. I think we went as me and my wife went as Marceline and Marshall Lee.
Yeah,
from Adventure Time.
Yeah.
And that was, I think, her second convention ever. And we met there, but I don't think we were actually like friends until like late, almost pandemic-y. Like almost like 2018-19. I think that's about.
Yeah, that's
like,
when we
friends, but like not friends. Like,
right, that's when we started like talking regularly and everything, and
yeah.
Because that was Collector's Con. That little, it was like in a little itty bitty hotel. It was like a long hallway and 2 rooms,
up
and
in
that was about it. Yeah. It was
the little con that could.
I remember that just being like Congestion Con, because it was one hallway.
God, there's so many cons that are just Congestion Con, and I really wish people would just like. I can solicit my services for floor planning. I'm more than happy. Like, I don't know. I know what the reason is, but I also, kind of in one weird way, I don't understand what the problem is. But there's just so much congestion at conventions, and especially with somebody like with mine, they're like, ew, books, and keep moving. But with you guys and all your art, half the time you guys have like I say most artists have, you know, that wall behind them of art,
Yeah.
and then 9 times out of 10 there's a book to thumb through, because
Yeah.
these are my favorite 15 to 20 prints, but I have 5 million other things that I've doodled. Please observe. God forbid you got magnets and keychains to root through.
Which I have those too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because like it's a big draw. I have I want to say in total like probably about 60 different prints in my small size. In the big format, I have like 30. I've got buttons, keychains, stickers. I've got a clearance bin of stuff that people like. But I, I like talking to people, thankfully,
Yeah.
because yeah, it's not like an oh hey and then they leave. Especially with the variety of stuff, someone always finds something to be like, oh my gosh, I remember that.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it is like, you know, looking at the two different things that we sell, you look at me and you go, nope, I don't like that genre, and you keep on trucking. You look at your artwork, and like I named off like half of my wall over there. I mean, if I could take the camera and carry it over there, like I can see from here, I see the Breakfast Squad. You did Fruit Brood and Count Chocula and the gang, all in this big collage. There's Wednesday Adams. I have the Hex Girls, which has a soft spot. You've heard what 87 variations of that Hex Girl song on the Frightreads playlist alone.
Right, that one you sent me though. You know
Well,
which one I'm
that one
talking
with
about.
the extra
The
umph.
one.
Woo! Oh, it's got some fire behind it. I do love it. Love me some Hex Girls. But yeah, you have such a spread, and then you get into like you have Has Been Hotel, you have deep cut anime stuff, and then you have Dungeons and Dragons monsters.
Yeah,
Like
that's
there's such a spread. You have to thumb through everything.
my issue is that I only draw what I love, but like I love
You love
a lot
everything.
of stuff. So it just yeah, and like I have to like get into it too. So like you won't see much like Genshin Impact because I tried really hard and it's just not for me. But a lot of that stuff, like everything that I draw, I know about too. So I can sit and have those long conversations and nerd out.
Right? Yeah, like because I mean we've talked about like some things that I've bought from you. It's just like Hex Girls. That's a hit or miss with some people.
Yeah.
And I think I got my most excited when I ran into 3 girls dressed as the Hex Girls. I think at Monster Mania. And I got way too excited and I was like, Hex Girls! And I think it freaked them out that I knew what it was and that I was yelling that loud. But not often can you really like share an interest of something that's, my God, they were like, yes, I know that they were in Scooby Doo like 3 or 4 times, and every subsequent iteration was not good. Um, but the first initial thing, they were such a footnote piece of that story. It was just they were there. They were the crux for the pivot point for the haunt, if you will, the villain. But they had what 2? I think they did 2 songs in that first one, right? It was the Witch's Island or something. I'm trying to remember which one it was.
It was Zombie Island was the
Zombie,
first one.
it wasn't
And
Zombie Island because I like that
and
one.
and then there was the what was the second one? Which is something.
It was the second movie, whatever it
Yeah,
was. But
but both of
they
those went too hard. Too hard.
they made 2 songs,
Yeah.
and you know you get the Hex Girl song, which is supposed to be the
Yeah.
one to catch you, and it's their backstory song. It's like, you know, who are we? We're the Hex Girls, and these are our names, and this is what we do. We do witchy stuff, and you're like, okay, cool. I know who you are through this one song that introduced you, and then you got like Shaggy and Scooby, like, oh, I like Zoink Scoob. Look at them play, rocking out, man. Like he's just like they're all like over the moon about this, and then they give you a second song. They didn't even have to give you a second song, and that was it was the one about the elements or something, right? It was
Yeah.
like the earth, wind, fire, and something.
Because they're eco
Um,
goths. That's a
yes,
thing.
and all I'm getting is the Craft vibes. Like they're
Right.
like this is very G-rated. The Craft, with 3 of them. You know, they need their fourth point. But yeah, like we got to talk about, I mean, we're already doing it again. Like, we're talking about the Hex Girls with such a level of enthusiasm. And I've seen you do that with somebody will pick up a sticker or a keychain and just lose their mind over it. And you're equally like, oh my God, I love this too. But you're not making it for the sake of making it. This is just, like you said, it's stuff that you like. And I love that.
Yeah.
So out of everything that you've designed, aside from the bird,
Yeah.
Out of everything you've designed, what do you think is your favorite design? Like, who's your favorite one to, other than, I should preface this with, aside from the bird and your own personal logo,
Right.
like your own caricature, outside of the two of them, who is your favorite character to draw, just in different predicaments and situations?
So I will say that my favorite piece that I ever did, and I've drawn her a few times. I've only got one print of it. Talking about those things from like our childhood, we got really excited for. One of my favorite movies growing up was Secret of Nim, and that movie
Okay.
it scared the pants off of me.
I was gonna say that's an interesting one to be like, this is my favorite. I like being scarred by this.
The Great Owl was terrifying. Nicodemus with the flashlight eyes was horrifying. And I was like 4 years old, and I'm screaming, and then I'm like, let's play it again. So it's
so horrible. One more time.
Exactly. I mean, that's the kind of kid that I was. So that's kind of how I am now. It's just like, that movie was terrifying. Almost Pete. Can we watch the next one? So Secret Name is one of my favorite movies, and I've done one big piece that I do sell. But I've done a bunch of sketches of Mrs. Brisby as well. And I was at this Little Mermaid con, Mermagic Con. My wife is a mermaid. And I was one of their guest of honor was Philo Barnhart, who was very famous for animating Ursula in The Little Mermaid. Like, that was his big claim to fame. Incredible artist, but he also came from Don Bluth Studios. So he had worked on things like Dragon's Lair and Secret of Nim, the Black Cauldron from Disney.
Black Cauldron was the one I was thinking of too. I was like, what was the other one that was kind of like
I love Black Cauldron. But
it's such an iconic art style too.
Exactly. That whole Don Bluth era of animation was great. And that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from. But anyway, so I was showing him my portfolio just to, I've got a real artist in front of me, one that's been doing this longer than I've been alive. So maybe I can get some feedback from this guy. And he's flipping through and he's making some comments, and, and he gets to my Secret of Nim picture and he doesn't say anything. And it just keeps going. And then he wheels back on it and he goes, I'm sorry, I skipped that because I thought I drew that for a second. And I started to like, like the tears just started coming. I was like, I drew.
You did, but I did, and that makes it really good.
Because you think you did, and that's how good it is. But I also, she's a lot of fun to sketch and draw because like she was such an animated character, and it's one thing to draw expressions on like people's faces, but that's why my character is a fox, and she has both a full fox forge and a human, is because they're a ton of fun to animate. We're children of the '90s. We grew up with nothing but animal cartoon characters like Goof Troop and Splat Cats, and so.
We had Gadget. We had geez. As I say, the list goes on because we had. So with our era, you had the '90s and the '80s cartoons. So I think the mid-late '80s and the early to mid '90s was peak because you had the best of both worlds. Because you had all the good stuff in the '80s, which was like Ninja Turtles and Ghostbusters and G.I. Joe, He-Man, all that. Like literally just this dump of animation that could be poured out. And then the '90s picked right up with Darkwing Duck and everything DuckTales and anything Disney could crank out. They had so many little like offshoot show properties. And then you had, the darker stuff like Batman, the animated series, and even Spider-Man, which I've seen newer iterations, and nothing beats that era of writing and drawing. No. So we had probably the most influential era to see any kind of cartoon work. Not that the original OG, like 40s and 30s and stuff weren't great, Bugs Bunny and whoever, but like we had the peak.
Yeah, We really did. And it's funny though, because you think about like, I'm a little bit of a furry, and I can't tell, but that's where
Yeah.
it all kind of came from, that era too, because like the characters were so beautifully drawn and beautifully animated, and we look back at those, and it's no wonder we still as adults are into the character design and stuff, and using those methods and stuff. I mean, the golden age was, of course, like the 50s, Kyle Mitt working with Disney, doing Jungle Book and stuff like that, and the beautiful animation that came from there. But really, the silver age was the late 80s, early 90s, where we just had that renaissance of just beautiful animation, especially when there wasn't a toy tied to it, like He-Man or something, and they could just, like, Disney let the series just be the series.
Just let it exist for the sake of
Exactly.
existing. You didn't have to be like, so anyway, the Ninja Turtles fly on this rocket ship. And they're going to do that for this episode. And anyway, here's this toy of this Ninja Turtle rocket ship.
Right.
That's it's so terrible because yes, I think that really spawned the amount of toys. I mean, good Lord, the 80s and early 90s were also notorious for being the toy connection era.
Exactly.
I had Captain Planet action figures. Why? Why? Because he was our hero and he was going to bring pollution down to zero.
I had SWAT cats, and I wanted the jet, and I had T-Bone Razor, and I wanted the jet in the worst way. My parents would not buy, because the jet was like 65 Reagan dollars. They were not trying to spend that, but I wanted it so bad, and it had like extra stuff, and then you could buy like the bike, and then there was the car and I wanted all that, but like that didn't matter. The series was still good even without those toys. Whereas felt like with a lot of the older cartoons, I love SWAT. I will defend that.
Yeah. But you needed to collect the whole set.
Callie Briggs.
Ask your parents for permission.
Callie Briggs is a good chunk of the reason why I'm gay.
So, yeah, and I look at some of the cartoons and even some of the live action stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I can see where I have a type. It really does, like, and I don't think it's in your face where they're steering you towards something, because there are options. I mean, my God, there were all these options, but there was one character out of this whole plethora of stuff that you watched, and you were like, yeah,
right there.
Yeah, that's it. That's it right here.
That's the character I'm going to formulate my entire personality over.
Right? And so I think, like, for me, like, even growing up, I liked so much like bonkers stuff that nobody else was into. Like, if I tell somebody like, yeah, they're like, yeah, I grew up on like He-Man and I watched some Batman. I'm like, yeah, me too. And then I start going down the rabbit hole of other shows, and I'm like, yeah, so Freakazoid. And they're like, oh, which explains a lot, by the way. And also gave my favorite word, Poogas. And I told Mr. Rugg that I said, so I got to talk to Mr. Freakazoid himself, Paul Rugg, and I told him, I said, dude, your show gave me my favorite word. And I said, and he says, what's that one? I said, so it's the episode when you go into the sewer. Cosgrove is waiting upstairs, and he's like, oh, this is a fan of the show because you know specifics. And I was like, so you go down into the sewers, but you're reluctant to do so because of the smell of poo gas. And I said, poo gas had became my favorite word. And if you watch Freakazoid and then meet me, you're like, yeah, it checks out. That's basically the non-blue version.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing how, like, your personality, your personal interests will get molded by cartoons and not TV shows, cartoons, because they're so impressionable. And Kim did say that she loves the headset, because who doesn't?
It matches his.
There you go. It's matching set.
But yeah, it's funny because like cartoons have just been such a big thing with me growing up, and then like I went from those Saturday morning cartoons and everything to I discovered anime, and like You know, I used
Oh,
to, yeah, right. And I used to like sneak out of bed and watch like that weird sci-fi block at like 4 a.m. where they would play like Akira and the things I wasn't supposed to be watching at that point in my life.
okay. Yeah, because we
Uh,
had like Toonami would play on Cartoon Network.
well, this predates even
But this,
Toonami.
I
Like,
was just saying, like you had that, and that was
yeah,
known for playing like Cowboy Bebop and some like easy. I call it the easy listening of anime.
right.
It's more accessible anime because you're getting Cowboy Bebop, and I think after a while Bleach showed up
Yep.
on there. They maybe dabbled in One Piece, like way in their later ages before they piddled out and then eventually came back. Um, they had that and Dragon Ball Z. They
Yeah.
were the ones that they would like the easy, like the cozy anime. But this was you're talking like mid '90s before the actual like animation block of anime. This is that
Yeah.
like, hey, you want to see something weird, kid?
Yeah, and we're watching Ghost in the Shell at 4 a.m. and I'm just like,
Yeah,
wow. Because like, you know, we grew up on anime, we didn't know it was anime. Like we had like there was Robotech, and I used to like sneak out of bed at 6 a.m. to watch Dragon Ball and then Sailor Moon. So like I had those as a kid, and I didn't know they were anime yet.
yeah.
Because it was just really good cartoon. I'm like, Sailor Moon is something else. Let me tell you, I might just love that the rest of my life. But you know,
Build
when
a life around that whole
just that
concept.
whole concept of just girl power, wow, like
Yeah,
wait,
and
the
that
boy
was
in this is
rare too.
useless.
Anime was kind of very male centric. You didn't like you would have like, Akira or somebody could be you would have several female characters, but it wasn't the mainstream thing. Sailor Moon was very we are it was what five you had five of them, right? You had five
There was
different
five
planet
main
names.
ones.
Well,
Yeah, there's the
four
five
planets
main
and a
ones.
moon, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
But you had five of them, and then you had a mysterious dude that wore a tuxedo and a mask. What a clever name for him, by the way.
hey, look, it was the 90s, but he but he
He
would
wore a tuxedo and a mask. What are we going to name him?
rose guy, no tuxedo mask. But
But
he would show up.
what a show that still to this day
Yeah.
actually
Oh,
is still like one of the few that carries on as strong as it ever has,
and
aside
the
from Pokemon.
right.
Sailor Moon and Hello Kitty are like the three like ironclad top dog shows
Yeah,
that will never die.
and it's
I think.
aged so well. Sailor Moon has aged so well. Like I just
Yes.
recently watched that fifth season that never actually even came to America, and I'm sitting there crying, and I'm almost 40, and I remember watching. You know, I did, and it still evokes that feeling of just
Yeah.
everything from it. But it was so good, and like that's what got me in the door. And then I'm watching Ghost in the Shell, also very female driven. And then we had, of course, you said Akira, and we had the Leiji Matsumoto animations like Galaxy Express 39 and Captain Harlock and stuff. Just beautiful, and it awakened this entire new world of like animation in me, and really expanded what I knew and loved, and able to take it from my love of like Don Bluth Studios forward. And it built me as a person and as an artist. Was growing up with anime. And I remember like my first anime convention was in 1999, and it was Otakon. There was an advertisement in the
Oh yeah.
newspaper, and it had Evangelion, and I took the
Okay.
advertisement to my mother, and I said, "Mom, please take this to me. I really want to go to this." And she went, "No, absolutely not." So I asked my aunt, and she took me, and we went just on Sunday, and my little 13-year-old head like exploded because I walk
Yeah.
into just the downstairs. It was only one big room at the BCC, and
Yeah.
I look around, and I'm blown away. Like there's Sailor Moon everywhere, and there's a guy in a Pikachu outfit, and there's someone cosplaying as Kaneda from Akira, and I'm just like, I want to do this every day
You
for the
found
rest of
your
my life.
people.
I really did.
You're like,
And
I'm
like,
moving in.
yeah,
This is my home now.
yeah, and I'm only here for 3 hours, and I'm like, I have to do everything I possibly can. And then I walked out that door, and I'm talking to my aunt. I'm all excited, 13-year-old kid. I'm like, I'm gonna cosplay next year, and I'm gonna make this costume, and I'm gonna meet this artist, and that was 26 years ago, and I'm still doing that exact same thing, and
Yeah.
just as excited as I was, at 13, because it just the animation, the life that it brings, the joy that it brings people makes me happy, and I get to pay that forward through a lot of my artwork as well. Even though I'm not, working on an animation, I get to work with a lot of conventions, a lot of folks that help spread that too.
So, and I'm kind of jealous of people like you and Liam. I know everybody knows Liam Stillman. He's been in the costume and convention community since it was invented. I
Yeah.
think he was there when they chiseled out the very first Comic Con out of stone. Um, but like, I'm kind of not necessarily, being back there at the Trekkie cons in the 60s and 70s or something like that, but I didn't get to come in on the convention ground floor. I only discovered it. I was already in my mid to late 20s, and that's where I had discovered conventions. I've only been doing them for, a decade and some change. So, like, I didn't get to see the before times when when you were looking at that, when it was just a niche nerdy thing to do. Like, I kind of saw it during that transition to where it was cool to be a nerd, and you get everybody likes Captain America. Like, the transition was basically when Marvel started cranking out movies and everything became extremely mainstream and cool to like. I've only seen that side, so I'm super jealous of all you guys that are just like, yeah, in 1996 I went to the first ever, and I'm like, God, that sucks. Like, I mean, not that I'm knocking, Baltimore Comic Con 20 whatever, but whatever year I went for the first time, 2014 or something. But like, I'm not knocking that, but like, I guarantee you that, year 3 is a different experience from year 23. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
jealous because I kind of missed out on that, like, early infancy of, like, and you can go to a brand new convention. You can go to one and it's year 1, but it's still going to be the same level of people. The same level of people still exist. I wish I could have seen it when it was just like, especially in Liam's time, when we got the luxury of, like, in the later times we got the internet and 3D printers, which is sitting right next to me. We have this luxury to be able to Google it. What does that outfit look like? Did it have 2 buttons or 3? Liam sat in there and he just kind of stared at the movie and go, remember that the stripe goes to the left. Remember. And then he'd go and, like, run home and take his note, and then he'd get another ticket for whatever Star Wars movie or whatever it was, and then see it again. And,
Yes.
like, that's how they built these things. They built stormtrooper outfits, like the OG 501st, like, though, the ones from long ago that were in the original Clone Wars, like, they were there. It's just impressive to me that people can build costumes just from, like, very minimal visual references, and here we are, like, how come I don't have all 47 angles of it? Like,
It's as someone who's been cosplaying for 25 years, it's insane. Because yeah, like, I talking to, like, Liam and them, yeah, they literally they would go to the movies, they would, like, take notes in the dark, and they would, like, do sketches, and they would build them off of memory and just seeing things happen. And I got spoiled because I at least had the VHS that I could pause, or, like, I could go with my father to work because he worked at an office, and, like, on Saturday I could print out pictures of Inuyasha to stick to the front of my binder. So I at least had something, even though they were grainy and terrible. We were still making a lot of guesses. And then it's funny, like, I judge a lot of costume contests now because
yeah,
I'm a master. I have a wall of awards, and I remember building things out of literal garbage. Like, you would go to the thrift store, you would just find stuff, and you would
yeah.
slam it together and make a costume. There was a weird shape on a costume that I made when I was like 16, and my sister's hamster had just passed away, so I stole the lid off of the ball, covered it in cellophane, and, like, stuck it to my chest. Like, there was that level of just garbage, but that's all we had, so everybody was happy. And now I sit in these, I sit and I listen and I talk to contestants, and they tell me their process, and they're telling about laser printer or laser cutters and 3D printers, and, like, all of these insane methods to style a
They have a
wig.
vacuum form machine, and
Right. And I'm
an
like,
entire team of prop makers, and they
it's
got half of Lucas Studios or whatever making it. And Stan
And
Winston himself carved this from a dead tree in their front yard.
right. But it's insane. And then they're also like name dropping all these tutorials that are out there and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
20 years ago, none of this existed.
you were
So
winging it.
we
Yeah,
were absolutely winging it. But it's fantastic to see what hasn't changed is the enthusiasm. You know,
yeah,
people are still just so excited to dress up like idiots as their favorite character and go be silly at a convention for a weekend. So like the
Did you
spirit of
see
it.
Salad Fingers that I shared? Because
I,
I know
I
you
know
didn't go
I
to
know
Awesome.
I know her. I know her.
Yeah, but
She
I
wore
got
that.
excited over that. She had the music playing out of the back of her head or something, like it was coming from her. I don't know where. I don't know if she just swallowed a bunch of earbuds and like synced them up, but music was coming from her, and she had the rusty spoon. And I look up and I'm like, oh my God, Salad Fingers. And you have one of two reactions. You either get somebody that goes, oh, thank you so much, because you recognize their costume, or the people that just, I like rusty spoons. And she just kept like rubbing the spoon. She's like, that's nice. Oh, that's nice. And I'm like, this is the cosplayer that I respect the most. Because you didn't go, oh, thank you. You went, I like rusty spoons.
She's a wonderful example. And I adore her, and I don't want to name drop her just because I don't know if she
Yeah.
keeps that separate from Salad Fingers. I don't want to, but I originally, like, I've known her for years, and she always does just the weirdest stuff. I first met her; she was a White Walker from Game of Thrones, and the thing
Yeah.
is that she's a gorgeous girl, and she cosplays the weirdest stuff, and I'm absolutely here for it. And I saw her; she wore that at the Day of Wrong for Ren Fair, and I am 3.5 bee stings deep at Ren Fair, and
Ooh,
around
you were
here
done
comes
for the
around the
day.
corner, freaking Salad Fingers coming, and I freaked out. And then she like sneaks up to me, and she's just like, "Hey, Cailin." I'm like, "Why does Salad Fingers know my name?"
I like rusty spoons.
Because I didn't know it was her.
Well, that's the best part is so John Barclay is I'm
He's
name
incredible.
dropping him
He's
because
incredible. I just saw him this
um
weekend. Dude is so talented.
John will be in a costume and he'll walk right past you and you're just like, hey, that's a good beast costume. Well, now I know which ones to look for, but then he'll be a new one. And I'm like, I have no idea that was you. Or, you know, in some cases I get too busy and I can't see him, but um sometimes he's so incognito that I have no idea that it was him. Like I think seeing his beast costume is really good, but he's also he did the he was actually at Frightreads 2 years ago. He was the jackal from 13 Ghosts. And he
Yes.
had the cage on his head and just these long teeth and fangs, and you'd never know it was him
No.
until like, and he's looking all menacing, and then you're like, "Hey, what's going on, John?" You go, "Oh, hey, what's up, man?" And like, he's got this cage on his head and these big fangs. Like, oh, hey, what's up, buddy?
And see, like
Um,
when I met him,
yeah,
he was the Mayor Landalorian, and like
yeah, that's a good
we
one.
going places, and people like we couldn't. He wears it to the Ren Fair, and like
That is the way.
we can't get it is the way, and we can't go 10 feet without someone stopping him because it's just such a cool presence, and it's a fun take, and it
Yeah.
makes it topical, and I said
Mhm.
it's why we do it, you know, and as
Yeah.
long as I'm able, I'll be a little old lady cosplaying. I'll find
See,
some
there's
age appropriate characters.
anime gives you options.
Miyazaki has given us so many adorable little old ladies to work off
There
of.
you
So
go.
I'm golden for the next
I was
50
gonna say
years.
you just pull out a Ghibli old lady, a Ghibli granny, and you're
Exactly.
golden.
There.
So speaking of anime, so I have yet to run into a cosplay or any merchandise in general in the wild, and I always go over to like the their anime section at Awesome Con or anything, and I'm just like anything, literally anything. Um, so what was your first anime? Was that you stumbling upon your super late night what am I watchings, or was it like Sailor Moon and all that?
So I always say my first anime was the first one that I purchased a copy of,
Okay.
and I knew it was anime because I had discovered, you know, Sailor Moon and the sci-fi stuff, but like when I was finally like, oh my God, there's this entire world of animation from Japan. I was at a yard sale, and I had just recently heard about Ranma One Half, and I found a
Okay.
VHS copy of so the Red Thread of Fate, because you only got 2 episodes on a VHS and they were like $40.
Yeah.
I bought a copy of that for $1 at a yard sale, and I watched it so much.
Oh,
And
man.
so I always say Ranma was my very first, and it was my formative, like, this is anime and this is what it's supposed to be about. And it's such a classic that they actually just remade, and it's still really good. The remake is good too, but yeah, that was my very first one that really opened my eyes to the bigger world, because of course this was the late 90s, so we didn't have like trailers and commercials for anime on anything else other than anime VHS. So watching the Ranma VHS showed me like Cardcaptor Sakura and Cowboy Bebop and everything that Viz carried, and that rabbit hole just got super deep really fast.
And it's still being dug out. So my first anime television show, Dragon Ball Z. Let's be honest, it was everybody's, because it was right there and it was always in your face and on television after school. And you flip on Cartoon Network, like, previously on Dragon Ball Z, they're still standing in a field. That was, and then now on Dragon Ball Z, that's the entire 30 minutes, and you were like, yes, this is such a good episode. And it's like, bro, they stood in the field and screamed at each other while they charged up. So 5 episodes later, they eventually shoot a fireball out of their ass or something, and that's the fight. But my actual first anime, which I don't know, again, I think it's kind of your mentality. Like, I just thought it was like a cartoon thing. I didn't know this was a niche thing. I just thought it was neat artwork. Vampire Hunter D. Oh yeah, and that is, and this is the hill I'll die on. I'll fight anybody that's watching. That is the OG anime.
It was so pretty. It was so pretty.
It is one of the oldest animes, like Japanese anime in general. Like, this predates the Ghibli stuff. This basically predates, I think, Sailor Moon.
Oh yeah. No,
it's in early 80s, and Sailor Moon was like late 80s, like in the initial run.
Yeah. Vampire Hunter D was, I want to say, either real late 70s or very early 80s.
It's the OG, and it's
so pretty.
It's my favorite, and I have no idea what's happening. It is. Yeah, he talks to a hand. He sucks some things up into it. He has a big sword. People get cleaved in half. I don't know what's happening. I have no. I will watch that from start to finish as an adult with my adult brain processing it, and I'm like, I have no idea what happened. The plot is just all over the place, but it is the greatest anime you'll ever watch.
It's so pretty.
You walk away satisfied, and I don't know why, because it's such a mess. Then they tried to do one in the 90s.
I love that one. Bloodlust.
I like that one, because also you got a video game out of it. You got a PS1 game, which is atrocious looking now, but it was great then.
I have a copy.
I do too. It's in the closet behind me. Like I said, Vampire Hunter D is life.
Yeah.
My problem is there's nothing out there. Like, I can probably 3D print D. I can probably get somebody off of Etsy that happens to also enjoy obscure crap that nobody talks about. But it's kind of like my JRPG obsession with the game Suikoden, which just got its HD remaster. Up until its HD remaster, everybody's like, what's this game? And I'm like, y'all don't know. I've been on this game for 30 years. You don't know.
It's a $400 PlayStation game.
This is 1 and 2 and even 3. We don't talk about 4 and 5, but 1, 2, and 3 are absolute fire. They are, hill I'll die on, better than Final Fantasy.
Yes, I agree.
When Final Fantasy 7 came out, they were like, ooh, look at our 3D graphics where Cloud has no lips or fingers. And then there was Suikoden still doing the sprite-based RPG style with beautiful hand-drawn backgrounds.
Gorgeous.
And these two properties, that and D, are such, not so much Suikoden anymore, because I think it kind of had a resurgence and new people are discovering it. But at the same time, like, these are some deep cut things that people don't talk about. And I really wish, because I think D was my gateway into Junji Ito.
Yep.
Not obviously very much not even in the same house, under the
Well,
umbrella. But when you find one horror anime, you're like, what's this? What's well, actually, so my Ito segue was seeing the because I had an obsession with really bad, like I love B movies, but there's nothing better than Japanese B movies.
they're delightful.
Uzumaki is a terrible movie that I always recommend. Marabito and Uzumaki. Those are my two jams. Because Uzumaki, the live action, has nothing to do with the anime. I mean, it does, but poorly, on a very comical level, where you're just like, oh my god, is this supposed to be scary? Okay. But I enjoy watching it because it's silly. But Uzumaki, the actual manga, or the recently adapted manga turned anime, um, much darker, much more messed
Yeah.
up. And I got into like his work and just got started to learn what like yokais were and all these other like characters and these demons and monsters and spirits, and like what scares them does not scare us, and vice versa. But I think my favorite concept that Japanese lore has is, so like over here, so I'll throw like Friday the 13th on the chopping block. So you go out to this campground, you start doing one of the big no-nos. You're either having sex, doing drugs, or both. And you're out in Jason's backyard. He chops everyone up with a machete. Oh no, gasp. But they also were the counselors that let him drown or something. There's always this weird tie-in, and we always have to make it justified enough so that way we feel cozy with it. My favorite thing is stuff like The Grudge. Hey, did you just walk in that house? Sucks to suck, nerd. You're dead. That's it. You did nothing wrong. You are a totally innocent person, probably a very good person. You just walked through the threshold. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I love that. Like, there's just this culture of a curse.
Yes.
And I love, like, obviously the surface level stuff is like Ring and Grudge, but like those types of movies where it's just, oh my god, what did you do wrong? Well, I just walked in the door and put their mail on the end table. and now this lady's crawling out of your sink like croaking, and you're like, well, this is it.
This is my life now. Yeah, the original Japanese one, Miss Call, is one of my favorite movies. The American one I walked out of the theater on, but the Japanese one, yeah, it's just like, oh, I answered the phone, I'm going to die, and I can hear myself dying, and that's a thing that I'm going to go crazy with for the next.
Yeah,
few days.
That's the one you hear like, and the call is like the time of your death.
Yeah.
Was that because I remember the American version too, and they tried. Bless them, they tried, because they also did the same thing with Pulse. And Pulse is kind of the same vibe. They're using technology because technology was new and scary. So how do we make it scarier? What if ghosts lived in your phone?
Yep, and because at that point, like young Japanese impressionable girls were getting cell phones and texting each other, and it was super cute. So, and one was called Cailin on that time, and yeah, it was really just. My favorite part wasn't so much that this horrible thing happened and then it gets passed on through someone in your phone book, but that level of just falling apart, knowing that this is coming and I can't do anything about it, and I didn't do anything to deserve this, and
yeah, you just answered the phone.
Yeah, and that's what's so scary is that I know to stay away from the camp, whatever it is in Jason. I know to stay away. Yeah, Crystal Lake. Thank you.
You don't go walking down Elm Street. You don't.
Not to walk
around Michael Myers' neighborhood.
No, you see the spooky house. You don't go trick or treating there. Like we know this. Yeah. This is a known thing.
Well, no, you can go trick or treating there. You don't go inside at midnight because you and your friends think it's a fun idea. Oh, we heard 25 people died in this house. Let's creep on in.
But then you know what you're walking into, and you're asking for that. I hate to use the term you're asking for it, but I'm sorry, 25 people died there. You are in fact asking for it. But the Japanese horror is this everyday normal stuff that like, oops, actually what happened was there was an angry fox spirit from 1,000 years ago who just one day decided they were tired of people, and now you have to deal with this problem.
I'm not an angry fox spirit, but I'm also feeling the same. I'm just tired of people.
I am an angry fox spirit. I don't care.
And tired of people.
Yeah, and tired.
But yeah, like it's just like I'm playing I'm playing the what's it South of Midnight. And it's a have you checked that game out yet?
No,
So it's a game that takes place in the South of America,
that's
and
scary right there.
it's like I think it's like Alabama, Mississippi. I mean it doesn't matter. It's anywhere USA that gets hit by a hurricane, and completely wrecked. So like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, those spots. Um, and a hurricane comes in, wrecks house, but there's also a supernatural element because the main character, um, she tries to chase her mom who's trapped in the house that gets caught, swept up in a rush of water, and she tries to chase down her mom, and then inevitably finds out like through various exposition that she is connected to a magic, what they call the tapestry, the grand tapestry, and it dates all the way back to like slave escapees and abolitionists. And I'm like, dude, this is so much fun. And like the supernatural aspect of it is so much fun.
Yes.
And the game, because you mentioned like Angry Fox God for the sake of being angry, the premise of the game is pretty much you're a weaver, and that's your title. And what you do is you weave the threads of fabric back into good, and you can see these knots, and these knots appear due to people just you're blaming yourself for somebody's death, or you weren't good enough for somebody and you just beat yourself up over it. All this guilt, all of this sadness, all of this like anger and frustration all starts to knot up. So what happens is these people that have these you know these feelings, like somebody's feeling very remorseful and guilty that they couldn't do enough for something, and they become a creature, like a legendary creature. And obviously you got to kick the crap out of it as you do. But my favorite so far has been the giant alligator called Two-Toed Tom. He is, as the name dictates, a giant alligator with two toes. He was
I
so
love him.
hungry he chewed off his own toes, is the lyrics in the song. There
Yeah.
is a song, very Dolly Parton-esque. You can Spotify it. Two-Toed Tom. And it is so good. I was just letting Tom eat me because I was vibing out to the music. I'm like, dun, 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 Two-Toed Tom. And I'm like,
I have to check
yeah,
it
oh,
out.
I'm dead. I'm
That's
dead.
delightful.
But yeah, like I love stories like that where it's just like something bad happened and it manifested into something 1,000 times worse. And especially with that caveat of I'm you're just gonna die because you happen to walk into the building. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true heart. I mean, like I love the classic slashers. They will always bring me joy.
Of course.
And I can watch them 1,000 times and get that just level of euphoria, enjoyment from them. But what actually scares me, because I'm a weenie when it comes to horror. I love horror. I will always sit and watch a horror movie, but I am like clutching the pillow, blanket over my head sometimes in some of these horrors. And what the ones that really get me are that level of just spooky realism. Like there was the movie Autopsy of Jane Doe.
Yes.
Friggin' terrifying, because it was just like they're two bored guys and they're working, and all of a sudden this chick rolls in and horrible things happen. Just absolutely the worst, because she might have been a demon. They didn't ask for that. And that's the level of just like the video game Fatal Frame.
Oh, where you take the picture of the spooky ghosts.
Your weapon is a camera.
Yeah. You're like, oh no, click. There's a ghost going to get me, but first, a selfie.
Get you that Polaroid. Hold on.
And that's the thing, too. Like, you're bringing up, like, spooky video games. I know I mentioned it earlier, but Phasmophobia, have you played?
No, I've heard nothing but good stuff about it, though.
Oh, boy. If you're a giant horror weenie, don't do it. I'm not a horror weenie, and that game freaks me out. And I'm like, I think, and I've been on real ghost hunts, and I'm usually the guy walking. You remember BuzzFeed on Unsolved, the ghost guys?
Yeah.
Guys, and the one's like, "Come on, ghosts, come get me," and the other guy's like, "Please stop." I'm the other guy. I'm the guy that's like, "Come on, what's up? Let's do it."
Dude, chill. Chill out, please, dear God.
So I have two different Phasmophobia playing modes. I have playing mode 1 where I have 3 other players in the game and we're in the same house. And chances are it's not just me that's going to have bad things befall it. I have a 1 in 4 shot to get got. So the thing with Phasmophobia versus a real ghost hunt, I know I'm going to get like an angry comment. Um, in Phasmophobia, it's guaranteed that there's a ghost in the building and something bad will befall you if you stay too long. In real life, not so much. I feel like it's all in your head. I
Yeah.
have yet to experience something that really makes me go, aha. Um, so with the group of friends, I'm doing the same thing I do in real life. Like we were playing a couple of nights ago, and I got on there and I went right to the basement. Why? I don't know, because that's what I wanted to do. I want to see some messed up stuff. And I'm down in the basement. I didn't turn on the light on the way down or anything. I popped out the flashlight and I was like, let's go, bro. And the way that you communicate in the game is through radios. So you have local chat where if you're in the same room, you can hear each other, but distanced if you're spread out, but you use the radios to talk. So I hear them doing push to talk and they're like, hey, I've gone into the back bedroom. I set up the camera. Okay, man, thanks. Did you put up the dot matrix lights? Yeah, I put up the dot lights. Okay. I'm going to go to the basement. Can somebody come with me? And I'm like, bro, I've been in the basement for like 6 minutes. By yourself? Probably. We'll see in a few more minutes. Now, if you come down here, it could be 3 of us. I don't know. But like that level of just this cocksuredness of
Yeah.
just like, I'm gonna do what I want. So I play solo. I can't get through the threshold of the fucking door. I will get into the main foyer and be like, man, I don't want any of this. I do not want, like, especially when your breath starts to get cold and you start to see your breath, you're just like, nope, nope. And then you'll have like a closet door that'll just be like, eh. You're like, nope, I'm getting back in the van. Hey, we had a great hunt. What kind of ghost you think it was? Demon, yokai, down a genie. I don't know. Just pick one. It was one of them. Did you see your breath? Yeah. All right. Well, that's good enough for me.
See, that tells you the level of my scaredness. I'm listening to this and going, nah.
Yeah,
Nah. And I'm not even
I
playing this
love
game.
it.
Nah.
I absolutely love the game though. It's very well done. And if you're looking to be just completely spooked out of your own pants, that's a wear the brown pants situation. Because especially when the ghost gets, if you get the ghost that gets angry, oh my god, we had a play where so there's one of them, and it's the stage that I picked because I got tired of doing the 2-bedroom house. I'm like, whatever, 2-bedroom house. They have one that's an actual high school. That high school has 2 floors and, as you would imagine, many rooms. We were dealing with a ghost that we found in the bathroom. So we were like, oh, it's a moaning myrtle, we got a toilet ghost. And the other thing is, and I have to be careful with the game, so it does have voice recognition. You can communicate with the ghost in multiple ways. One, you can use one of those little spirit boxes, or you can put down a notepad and be like, can you write down your name? Can you fill out this? Can you tell us anything? And it will actually reply and respond. It also responds to swear words, which I am notorious for going, hey, ghost, you're a bitch. Did anybody tell you that? And I'll hear the other ones go, shut up. Can you not? What if you did it? And I'm like, whatever. What's it going to do to me? And then like you'll get the ghost name, and it'll be like something stupid. Like it'll just be like Scott Johnson, and you're like, it's the ghost name is Scott, bro. Then you go and they're like, Scott sounds like the name of a bitch. Can you not? And I'm like, what? I'm trying to get some spirits. Yeah, let me see. We got Daphne says hi.
Hi, hey, Daphne.
I was like, I'm bouncing around over here doing multiple things. But yeah, it's a game for sure. I live for horror stuff. Silent Hill is my is life. Resident Evil, I have tattoos of Resident Evil. It's life.
Resident Evil.
Um, yeah, like, and you have all kinds of art that spans some of those properties
Yep.
too.
Yep. And it's so and one of your other folks, Becky Taka, our wonderful terrifying clown, challenged me a few years ago to she was like, because like my art's very cutesy in style. She was like, what if you drew like spooky stuff but like a woo? And that's what I've started doing a lot of. Is it's but like I have like Sadako from The Ring
I
and
love
all of
that
these.
one.
She's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that one. I've seen she has a picture of her crawling out of the TV holding your sticker, I think,
yeah, I know.
somewhere.
Well, that sticker's inside of that TV now.
Yeah, it is
Um,
now.
but yeah, so I do that, and then I'm just releasing like a series of Cthulhu stickers. That they're all of the demigods,
Yeah, I saw
the great
those.
old
Those
ones,
are
but they're
awesome.
like super cute, and that's kind of become my brand is the
Creepy
kawaii
cute.
horror. Yeah, creepy
Yeah.
cute because it fits my aesthetic and also keeps me from being scared out of my pants as well. Because like I said, I love horror, but I'm a scaredy
Yeah.
cat, so
But now they're adorable and they can't hurt you.
they can't hurt me if they're cute.
They're soft. They're soft and adorable.
That's right.
Look at this cute little Pennywise. He can't hurt anybody. You know that but you do, you have this huge spread of horror stuff
Yep.
and just it's everything from weren't you doing like the like cryptids? Didn't you have
Yeah,
a collection of
yeah,
cryptids? Like a chupacabra and Mothman.
yeah. So
You
I
didn't
did.
draw his butt though. You got to draw Mothman's
I
booty.
do have to draw them with the quarter in the slot.
In the slot.
But yeah, like I did a series one of those, and I have a couple of enamel pins, and they sold really well. So I've just done a second series that they're now at the printers, but just more of the weird, like the cute little cryptid things, because like people love cryptids, and like everybody loves Mothman, but people love the weird ones. Like we're local to me up here in Northern Maryland is Squonk. And Squonk is this little
Squonk.
Squonk is so relatable.
Well,
Just
locally around here, we have, I think, immediately local. We have Squonk,
Snallygass.
which is between here and lower Pennsylvania. Like it depends.
Yeah.
He stands that. You have Snallygaster and the Chessie, I guess.
Chessie, because everybody's got a Loch Ness.
They got their own Loch
monster.
Ness, but
Yeah.
Chessie is ours.
Yep.
And then we have some form of Bigfoot, like everybody else does too.
Yeah.
But the next closest cryptid is probably, well, you have the Frogman.
Loveland Frogman. Mothman in West Virginia. We've got Jersey Devil.
Jersey Devil. Yeah, those are the next closest ones. So Squonk is the underdog. Did you draw him in your?
I sold out of him actually. I just had to reorder because he's so relatable. Because like his thing is like people look at him and he melts, and I'm like I
he's just sad. And he melts.
I get that. I just melt into tears when people look at me.
Yeah, he's just sad. That's his power. He's always sad. That's like there's a Pokemon that's like that's its ability. It's a Sobble.
Yeah, Sobble. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm like, bro, it's just an emo Pokemon. It's just sad all the time. Why do I want this one? This is depressing.
It's very
but yeah, it's kind of in that vein. But yeah, I've been watching some of the spooky stuff. I'm sure you're gearing up for next Saturday.
Yep.
I will have next Saturday.
Yeah.
Halfway to Halloween.
Very excited.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We got. So, have you seen some of the announcements that we did for the big show in September?
I have not. Unfortunately, my head has been so close to the ground with getting new products, and I'm working on a big project with MagFest right now. So that's where my attention span has been. I'm now one of their official artists, so that's exciting.
So his name goes by on the marquee every once in a while since we've been doing this, but we just got Lloyd Kaufman, Uncle Lloyd from Troma.
Oh no!
Yes, no shit indeed. Well, yeah, you're like, oh no, I mean, kidding. I'm like, no shit indeed.
No shit.
So we got Lloyd, which is fantastic. But because I sealed the deal today, you get to hear about it. You've played Red Dead Redemption 2, yes?
Of course I have.
Well, I happen to book an actress that not only is one of the main Dutch gang. I mean, that's basically your characters in the main game anyway, but the main Dutch gang. She is one of the main female protagonists, if you will. that runs alongside of your main characters. She's also like, I don't know, 5, 6 voices in Pokemon. Thought this would interest you. So I'll leave it at that. So I got a Red Dead Redemption and Pokemon person. So if you're one of the few people that are tuning into this now, or 3 hours from now because you forgot, or tomorrow afternoon and you go, ah, man, yeah, you heard it here, because you're going to hear it probably next week more officially, after probably after halfway to Halloween, if not next week. But somebody from Pokemans.
So you're gonna watch my table so I can go meet her, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Every year so far has been that one person that you're just like, I'm going to need somebody to watch my table.
Yeah.
And it's always been one person. And it's never been like a lot of people. It's just one person. And that one person has been who you beeline it to.
Yeah.
I think we had 2 this past one. We had 2 people that I think it was the fairy godmother was on your radar.
Yeah.
But then I think you had a Sandlot itch or something. Like you were just like, oh, that guy's in the Sandlot.
What was it? Yeah, it was.
You had somebody else in that corner with those guys.
I got really, really excited and yeah. And
then
then
maybe it was Sean Whalen. I don't know if it was Roach or if it was Brandon. I know it was one of them.
Yeah.
And you were just like, I gotta do 2.
Yeah, and then because the year before it was Billy, Stay Puft, because what a sweet guy. What a sweet guy.
He's wonderful.
Yeah.
Did you watch the cat's out of the bag now, or the cat's actually behind you? But you saw I'm sure everybody's familiar with the Masked Singer.
Yeah.
They were having Ghostbuster Week, and they had Stay Puft the Marshmallow Man as the suit of choice. And I looked at it and I was like, that's Billy in the suit, isn't it? And sure enough, we get to, the big reveal, and they're like, they pull his head off, and it's like the most awkward thing, because the audience is like, who's this man? And then they were like, the original Stay Puft, and like, oh, that. But man, like, that's so cool. Yeah. So like, not only did you make the suit to dance around in and sing in, but I know he's musically talented. So
well, because we sang with him. So
yes, we did. Yes, we did.
And I also got to hear about his story about how he built Heidi Klum's like worm costume.
And among other costumes of hers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The worm was definitely the weirdest, but
right. Yeah, it's yeah, I absolutely I think he's a fantastic guy. But everybody we have on the docket so far this go around, I'm excited because it's Jane Jensen's first ever convention.
Oh, that's exciting.
I have another person I shall not disclose, but I mean, I'm going to say there's a good process of elimination, but it's somebody that has been in Cannonball Run, the old Burt Reynolds flick.
Yeah.
Somebody that's been in Cannonball Run. I will be like her second or third convention. She's just kind of getting her feet wet, and people are like, if you want to go to a good con, go to Frightreads, because Harry will take care of you. And I was like, oh my God, does she have a horror connection? Because somebody's going to give me the 3rd degree at the door and be like, well, I like her, except what doesn't make sense is, like, it has to be it can be such a like way removed degree of horror. And I'll be like, yeah, they were in X-Files for 1 episode or something. And it's like, that counts. What were they in the X-Files? They were the waitress. I don't know. Like, they were the waitress in the 1 episode in the background. But I'm like, there, suck it. We're in. But yeah, everybody that I get, I was actually talking to one of the agents today, and I said, he's like, oh, dude, you got such a good group of people, because I get them from all different agencies and people. Right. And he's like, this is a good group of people. And I was like, I pick people I want to hang out with. Because at the end of the day, I'm stuck with them figuratively. They're my problem at the end of the day. Everybody comes up, they meet them, and they go home. I get to sit with them for, dinner and all of this stuff. And if I'm there and I'm like, I've never seen your movies, I don't know you, I've never heard of you. Like, I mean, obviously, look behind me. Of course I like Billy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so me and Billy were just like that. But yeah, like Sean Whalen was who I reached out to because I was like, I love Twister, I love Employee of the Month, I love all of these different properties, and I was following closely his new movie Crust that came out last year. And I was like, I gotta get this guy. I gotta get this guy. So it's somebody that and obviously Twister, but like, the Twister and People Under the Stairs, which is what I booked them for.
Yeah.
Um, but like, yeah, I had to have this guy. Like, I wanted to meet him and be in his presence. He just seemed like just a hell of a personality. So everybody that I book is somebody not like I'm not just going through the motions because I'm like, oh, well, this person's popular and I'll make lots of lucrative dollars. I'll make all of the monies because this person is popular. No, it's people that I think are just cool. So I hope everybody else gets that vibe and just
I think so.
saunters over to, celebrity X's table. I don't care who it is, and just talks to them and
Right.
Lets them know like, hey, by the way, I thought you were cool as hell in Cannonball Run. Or I loved you in Pokemon, or and it's from the XY iteration, which is way beyond my level of watching. I think I tapped out second movie.
Saw
And
those in theaters.
yeah, I'm just saying, like, I tapped out around second movie, so like 2003 or 4. And then I did watch Detective Pikachu. Who didn't? It's a very grown-up Pokemon movie, which is great. But like for me to know the XY, and I was actually talking to the agent, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't know anything about Pokemon." Like, he's very limited knowledge to whatever his kids know and what he interacts with. And I was like, "Dude, I found out there was a trash bag Pokemon." So yeah, I don't know, man. I was like,
Garbodor.
yeah, and I'm like, man, how far we have fallen.
Yeah, I love me some Pokemon, but that's a constant thing with me. It's just like they're running out of ideas here.
But then you look at like, we're the purists. We defend the original 150, and then you start to analyze your own pure 150, and you're like, bro, we had a pile of sludge.
His name was Muck, and his baby
we had whatever the hell Jinx was supposed to be.
Racist.
Whatever the hell that was supposed to be.
They changed
that thing.
They changed it to purple for a reason.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying we had whatever the hell that was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, yeah, we had some weird stuff too. So you have to give it a pass.
They haven't gotten any. It hasn't gotten any worse, to be quite honest. It's just we're all grumpy and old now, and we're just going, well, this one looks stupid. I like my fire lizard.
Not my Pokemon.
Right.
Like I'm playing Pokemon Cafe, and I just marathoned until I unlocked Squirtle, and I was like, well, that's it. I got Pokemon number what? 4?
4, yeah.
Or whatever they've shifted them around to, but like OG numbers, like Pokemon number 4. All right, mission accomplished. Thank you, everybody. Good job.
Back it up.
We can uninstall it now. But yeah, I'm excited for every guest that we have. I know Era's Nightmare is building something absurd. I don't know what, but I know it's going to be just wild.
It's going to scare the pants off.
Good and gnarly and wild. Yeah. And that's also in conjunction with Becky, who usually delivers a small version of something wild, and now she's going to be under his umbrella building God knows what.
Every year she gets me. Like last year, I was just sitting there, like I didn't have a custard for me, so I'm working on my iPad drawing, and she just came up behind me and like there's a wall behind me, so she came up behind me and just squeaked in my ear, and I screamed.
Yep.
I screamed. I love her to death. She's one of my favorite humans. She gets me every friggin' time, and she knows it, and she continues to do it because that's what friends are for.
And you screamed, yet I believe there are about a dozen photos of like a 6-year-old child just loving her. As Sadako, as the clown, as whatever atrocity she comes out with next week, and in September, just these kids absolutely adore her, and it's funny that you screamed at the top. You were like, "Ah!"
I'm a baby.
She's just like,
yeah,
yeah. But yeah, I know we got that, and I know we tried to do a concert about 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I have musical acts getting booked.
That's
for this
fun.
Year.
That's super fun.
we're going to have some cool stuff happening.
I'm excited.
So all of that's going to be on the website for anybody viewing it. It's been a great hour of stuff happening. So again, I'm going to put the link back up there. If you need commissioned art, if the schedule allows, get some cool little doodles drawn, logo artwork, little cutesy, mascots, anime things, a cartoon version of yourself, whatever floats your boat. If you throw money at the screen, it will come back with a picture. So you can go to the Redtail Studios link tree right there. Of course, X, Instagram, Facebook, whatever of the same name, look for Redtail Studios. You can obviously go onto Frightreads.com and see not only Redtail Studios in the vendor list, but you will see tons of authors, tons of vendors, tons of great guests. We have so much room for activities, and I can't wait to record that promo video where we actually start to practice karate and do the entire Step Brothers gag. I want me and Ryan to get the clothes that they wore, and we're gonna do the "What's your favorite dinosaur?" and we're gonna name wrong dinosaurs. And I can't wait to just do that gag because I might need a scooter to get me from point A to point B. It's 500 feet long, and I am so excited for this and terrified at the same time. But that means we're gonna have tons of great stuff. That means that the Ghostbusters can get wild. We're going to have a DeLorean inside. We're going to have a Jurassic Park Jeep. We're going to have basically, because we have Lloyd and we have, the mayor and king of Troma himself with several people from Troma. We're going to convert a little area into Tromaville. That's going to be their little nook. You're going to be able to meet Jane. You're going to be able to meet Lloyd and anybody else that decides to come fly in and live in Tromaville for the weekend. So I'm excited. So it's going to be a lot of fun. But for the immediate itch, come see us next Saturday at Marley Station Mall in Glen Burnie, Maryland. We're going to be in one of the wings just past JCPenney's, directly across from the food court, taking over, doing so much fun stuff. We're going to have awesome independent movie stars and directors there to answer your questions. We're going to have some people representing Fuzzy Monkey Studios who made this terrible movie called Crack-Coon, which is it's a movie and you need to watch it. I'm not telling you it's called Crack-Coon. Where's the bar? Where are you already getting the bar? So it's entertaining. It's up there with Zombievers and all the other dumb crap I enjoy. We have Shriek Show playing by them at the theater. We're going to have Blood and Breakfast, which, did you get to hang out with Nancy? Remember Nancy from last year?
Yes, she was awesome.
Nancy from Scream.
Yeah, what a gem of a human.
She's in the movie.
Oh,
she won't be at our event because she's in the middle of nowhere, somewhere else, Arkansas or something. I didn't pay attention. She's not coming here, so I'm like, okay, that sounds like a good enough answer. Doesn't matter where. I don't need an explanation.
Right.
You're not here, and that's all that matters. But she's in Blood and Breakfast. We're going to have Matt Burns, who was a producer, and he had a part in the movie. I think we have Brandy Lynn, who is also in the movie. All these people are going to be hanging out, signing their autographs, signing their movies, DVDs, VHSs, whatever, laser discs, whatever format that they chose to bring, and doing a Q&A at their movie. So going to be a lot of fun. You don't want to miss out on that. That is literally next Saturday.
Yeah.
Come out for a quick little one-dayer and have a blast.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I was seeing those numbers go up and down and up and down. So if you saw it, part of it, hello. There's our favorite mermaid in the background.
My wife, Lee.
Hello, Lee. But thanks, everybody, for watching. This has been fantastic. Please check out Cailin's art. I can't stress it enough. It classes up the joint. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We're out of here. I'll talk to you next week, right before the event, to encourage you once more. And if it's not enough for me to encourage you, I will have actor Chris O'Brockie. He will be there, and he will make sure you're coming on Saturday. So until next